Welcome to Breaking Barriers, where we're exploring African American history and today's social justice issues. Change starts with awareness, so listen and learn. I'm your host, Stephanie, and let's get started. Hey, y'all. We're back. Welcome back to Breaking Barriers. I hope y'all as excited as I am. As you can see, I'm super excited. If this is your first time, welcome. If this is not your first time, welcome back. As you can see, we got a new setup. We're at home now, and I love it. Loving this new setup, so looking forward to it. But if this is your first time, welcome to Breaking Barriers. My name is Stephanie Cooper. I'm your host, and Breaking Barriers is about African American history and contemporary social justice issues. So we're talking about Black history and how it continues to repeat itself and what we can do to change that. So buckle up. Here we go. Today's episode is going to be about the representation of the Black community in social media and entertainment. As always, we're going to start with the history, move through the years, and come to common day, and then talk about what we can do to change that. And yeah, so let's jump into it. So I want to start with something that is probably pretty common known. A lot of people know about this. This is something that we still deal with, and we'll talk about kind of where it started. So in the 19th century and kind of continuing through into the 1920s and all of that, we're seeing these minstrel shows, which is like kind of like a form of entertainment. They started in Europe, but pretty much essentially what it is white people blackfacing and pretending to be Black people in these shows. Blackface is something that we are still seeing to this day, unfortunately, but it does have a very long history. So we're going to dive a little bit into that. The rise of minstrel shows started in the 1830s or so, and it started with a man named Thomas Dartmouth. People call him Daddy Rice. He created a character solely based off of blackface, and the character's name was Jim Crow. If you have seen any of my other episodes, you have heard that before in other contexts, but that is originally where Jim Crow comes from. If you haven't seen my other episodes, go back and watch them. Thank you. But yes, he is one who started this idea of Jim Crow, and it's pretty much just people dressing up in blackface and stereotyping Black people. They're pretending to be Black by doing this blackface and creating this stereotypical idea of what they view Black people as during that time. And of course, that continues to evolve as they're seeing changes and as they're choosing to make up new ideas and different stereotypes. Some of the stereotypes that they were kind of perpetuating with these shows were the idea of a happy slave, enjoying servitude, like enjoying the things that they were having to endure, being enslaved. I don't know where that makes sense, but sure, I guess. And then the idea of the lazy and dim-witted Black person, like calling someone lazy who is enslaved and creating the foundation of our country is crazy to me, personally. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but to me, that sounds crazy. And then the last one, which is one that continues to be shown through media, through movies, through shows, through films, through all of these things, is the savage, brute Black man. In this early time, it is very common to see shows that are portraying the Black man as a very violent, brute, savage man, specifically towards white women. This is a very, very common theme that you are continue going to see over and over again. I'm also going to talk about it a little bit more later. And then it got to a point where these shows became normal within the culture. They were just kind of doing them all the time. It was very common for people to go watch them. Very outlandish, but it became a very common thing and kind of a part of entertainment culture. And we get to the point where we are transitioning into film, and very early film, silent films. You are seeing okay, if you have never heard of this, it's definitely gonna come as a shock. But in 1915, the film The Birth of a Nation was created. Like I said, if you know what I'm talking about, then you understand. If you don't, let me explain it to you. I'm just gonna wrap it up for you real quick with a little bow. The Birth of a Nation was essentially kind of showing white supremacy and the KKK and kind of what they were about, what they were doing. It's a very racist film. I could talk about it all day, so we're not going to go there. But if you want more information on it, I would just look it up. But it's very racist. It essentially just is glorifying white supremacy and the KKK. And that's what we're going to leave that at. Okay. So, as I said earlier, these shows and blackfacing became very normal within the culture. It was something that was very common for people to watch, go see, be a part of. So this kind of just continued to leave that impact of those stereotypes of Black people, showing like, oh, this is what Black people are like. This is how they act. This is the way. This is the things that they do. Um, it was a very poor description and kind of laced those stereotypes through the culture and kind of just continued to perpetuate them and left us where we are now, where we're still seeing the same issues occurring and the same stereotypes that people have seen for hundreds of years still going on. It really wasn't until about the 1950s, 1960s where we're seeing the civil rights era, where we're seeing a decline in blackface, where people are speaking outright saying that this is wrong and that there are plenty of people of color to play these roles, to play themselves, and to show that these stereotypes are not true, to actually present their community as the person that they are. There are a lot of people who have spoken out about blackface and the effects of it and the stereotypes that it led to. Some that are very commonly known, Langston Hughes. He wrote about them in his essays, his writing, talking about the impact that these stereotypes are leaving on the community, not only the Black community, but the culture of America in general. You also see Spike Lee, who's someone that's very commonly known, especially in our time frame now. Some of his films back in the early 2000s, he talks about the impact of blackface and the implications of, how that is affecting film, media, and just entertainment altogether. And although I said that this is something that is very probably well known and kind of common knowledge to a lot of people, there was a study taken in 2021 showing that only 42% of US adults, only 42% of US adults understood the historical significance and the role that blackface hold up understood the historical significance of blackface. There we go. That just shows that not everyone is educated on this. Not everyone understands what the problem is of blackface. And if you don't know, go and educate yourself. Find people like me who are going to tell you. why it is wrong. Based on the statistic, it shows that there are many people, especially adults, um, that live in America that do not understand the significance of blackface and how it has impacted the world that we live in today. If you don't know, that's okay. Find people like me who are willing to show you why it is wrong. This is not something that the Black community is like, oh, well, we want to keep everything to ourselves. No, that's not what this is about. We're not trying to gatekeep anything. We're just trying to show you that doing this is wrong because of the stereotypes that are left behind it. There's pain and trauma behind it. This was being done not to exemplify the Black community and show, the Black community is great. They have this, and this, and they do all these wonderful things. No, it was used to stereotype the Black community, to put people down in the Black community, to show this picture of whatever people think that Black people are, that they aren't. To show a brutal, savage Black man that is constantly preying over white women. That's not what this is about. So doing blackface is not okay for many reasons, but because of the history behind it. So as we move through history, we get to the 1960s and 1970s, and we are seeing Black people actually playing Black roles in films, which is great, beautiful. But majority of these films are being produced and created by white filmmakers, which still continues to perpetuate the idea of a violent Black man. So as we're moving through history, then we're getting to the 1960s, the 1970s, and we're seeing Black men and women actually playing Black roles. Great. But majority of these films are created by white filmmakers. So they're still continuing to perpetuate these old ideas that they were seeing in previous media. We're seeing movies like Superfly and Shaft, but we're seeing Black men playing roles that are continuing to push the same agenda of a violent, hypersexual Black man, where we're seeing crimes taking place, violence, just unnecessary stuff that is not presenting the Black community in a good light. It's continuing to perpetuate those ideas, but now we're having Black people play those roles. So again, that continues to push that same agenda because now they have a Black person doing it, further pushing their point, unfortunately. So I want to continue on that point and talk about these persistent tropes that we are seeing throughout film. We're continuing to see in even modern films and modern TV shows that portrayal of violent criminal Black men. I know y'all may not want to hear this because I know y'all like these shows, but they're continuing to push that agenda that they can only be violent or they can only act in certain types of films like action and crime drama, like Power. I'm not saying that it is a bad show. Personally, it's not for me. I'm not a huge drama person, but that is a show that is perpetuating that idea of a violent criminal Black man. Yes, you are seeing Ghost as, this Black man in a suit who owns a club. Right, but what is he doing to fund that club? He's partaking in criminal activity. He's very violent, extremely, extremely violent. Even if he is not the one being violent, he is giving those orders to be violent and to kill people and to take people out. So, again, continuing to perpetuate that same stereotype that we have seen since the 19th century. Again, I know y'all may not like that because I know y'all like that show. I get it, but think about it from that context. I do, though, want to talk about some films that we are seeing that create a different light and show us that we can properly and effectively show what the Black community has and the good things. Um, Films like Moonlight and Get Out and Black Panther. Um, um, these films are ones that really challenge that harmful stereotype of violence and crime, and portraying Black man as a complex human and showing that they are multifaceted, that there are different sides to them, and that they can play roles that are not just violence and not um, showing this brute savagery that they have been trying to paint people as in the Black community. I know that y'all maybe think that maybe I'm taking it too serious, but you have to think about how these tropes and these stereotypes are affecting people in real life, because people are seeing in social media, in films, in shows, in entertainment, that they see this violent Black man or mad Black woman. That is how they view you in real life. People cannot separate the fake from the real. People see this plastered all over their social media, all over their film, wherever it is, whatever entertainment they are watching, that is what they are seeing. That is the idea that they have of you, especially if they do not interact with you in real life. So, because they have seen all of this bad stuff about you, that is what they see in real life. When reality hits and they see you in person, they're immediately scared of you, because that is what the media has taught them. They have never even interacted with you, they've never met before. You could be the nicest person in the world, and that won't matter to them because of this vision that has been created for them. This idea that has been planted in their head based on stereotypes. So it is that serious. Keep that in mind. This is important for you to realize that these carry through to your real world experience. This impacts mass incarceration, police brutality, racial profiling. All of these things that we are experiencing in the Black community are coming from this, because these stereotypes and racist ideas have carried through our history for so long, and because now we are so heavily incorporating media into our everyday life. It is what we see all the time. So if we are constantly seeing these bad tropes of the Black community and stereotypes being plastered everywhere, these poor representation of the Black community, that is what people are going to think about in real life, in reality, because that is all they are seeing. We need to change that and create a community that shows what the Black community has. That this is not about violence. This isn't about criminal acts. It doesn't have to be all these stereotypes. Let's change the script and create what it should actually be. And I'm doing part of that right now. So take your step and do what you can to change that. Not only is this affecting you, on that real life level where you're like, okay, I have to be cautious about where I go, the things that I do, the things that I say, but this also affects you on a psychological level. When someone is constantly telling you that you are one thing, you're eventually going to start believing that, because that's all you're hearing. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy at that point. If someone sits in front of you every single day and tells you you are stupid, you're going to think that you're stupid, because that is all you were hearing. This will affect you psychologically. The Black community is facing so much internalized racism, stereotyping, and just the pressure to fit in a certain box that it is so hard to counter that. We are shoved in this box, this little tiny box of negativity and false this the false ideas who we are, um, that create psychological problems for us. It affects our self-esteem, social interactions. Like for me, I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I have really, really, really bad social anxiety. You wouldn't think that because I'm a very talkative person. And most people, when I tell them that I have social anxiety, they don't believe me because they see me as a very social person. But when I am in a space that I've never been there before, I really don't know anybody, um, I get very uncomfortable because I never know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to happen. And usually I try to avoid putting myself in situations where I don't know I'm like, I don't know anybody there or I've never been there before. Like I avoid situations like that because of the fear of what could happen. And being a Black person and navigating the world is a difficult thing. So just realizing that this does have a psychological impact on you and the people around you. Now, on a more positive note, again, I want to talk about some people who are challenging these stereotypes. Um, Again, I spoke about Spike Lee earlier. Again, he's someone who is kind of exploring the consequences of stereotype and racism in his films and trying to challenge those ideas. Another one that is very common. I know y'all know who this is. If you don't know who this is, you got to be living under a rock. Um, Jordan Peele. We all know and love Jordan Peele. Um, he is someone who is standing on business when it comes to challenging those stereotypes. Um, Trying to create a space to show that we can break away from those racial fears and stereotypes that have been implanted in the culture of America. You can see this in Get Out. If you've never seen Get Out, you should watch it. It's a very interesting film. All of Jordan Peele's films are very interesting. So definitely, definitely go check it out. Um, there are people out there challenging these stereotypes and trying to make a change. So maybe invest in those types of media, those type of films, shows, um, and not ones that are continuing to perpetuate these ideas of the Black community. To talk about social media nowadays, I know that people be hating on our generation because we are so wrapped up in social media. And I get it. There are some days where I just want to step away and not even look at social media because it can be very draining. It can be a lot to see at once and can be very overwhelming, whether it's good or bad stuff. But I do appreciate the fact that the access that we have to social media has given people the ability to create their own platform and to represent themselves in the way that they want to be represented, especially in the Black community. There are so many big creators in just so many different areas of social media, YouTube, streaming, TikTok, Instagram, whatever it is. I know y'all know many, many, many famous people who started on social media or started from a very small platform who have a very big impact nowadays. Kai Cenat. Y'all know who that is. We all know who that is. Kai Cenat, he's one of the biggest streamers out there. And to see where he has started to where he is now and creating such a beautiful idea of the Black community. I have seen some of the funniest stuff in my life on Kai Cenat streams, but I've also seen very impactful moments. Actually, one very recently. Kai Cenat had a young kid on his stream. I don't know his name. I'm really sorry. I didn't watch it that much. I only saw a clip of it. But the young boy had called somebody a slur. And Kai Cenat stopped immediately and spoke life into this little boy and explained to him that he should not be speaking like that. He is a child. And showing him that he does not have to act like the community around him, like the people around him. And I love that because Kai showed him that even though he is just a little boy, he should represent himself and carry himself in a way that he can be proud of, that he can be happy about, that, people don't see him in a bad light because he is already a little black boy. So people are going to see him a certain way. So Kai is trying to teach him he doesn't have to be like the people around him. He can just be a little kid. And that's, I think, beautiful. There are just so many people out there that have changed the perspective of the Black community, and I love that. Someone else that there's actually a lot of people that I follow that are Black creators, especially in social media. Jerry Flowers, he's a pastor in Houston, and I watch his videos every morning. Every morning. And social media has given him the platform where I can listen to him even though I don't live in Houston. I mean, I'm only 3 hours away, but I could still listen to the words that he preaches every day because of social media. And again, he is showing that the Black community is making a positive impact. And he is doing that through his access to social media. He is educating people. He is guiding people. He is showing that there is so much good. There are so many positives that people don't see because their social media is plastered with the bad things. I don't ever put the news on because it's just full of so many scary things. And it's just like, I do acknowledge those things because I read the articles and I see it on my social media. But the light that Black people in the Black community are painted in is just not right, ever. You could look up the same story on 3 different platforms and get a very different light depending on who wrote the article and how their biases are playing through their words. Because your social media shows you exactly what you want to see. You and somebody else with different views could look up the same thing and get a completely different answer because your social media is based on your interests, your views, your morals, whatever you believe in, that's what it's based on. So if you are seeing all the bad stuff, there's probably a reason. I see both sides of it personally. I see both sides of social media, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. And that's just what it is. I think one of my biggest pet peeves, one of the things that I completely avoid, solely because I'm not really like a reality TV person. I think reality TV is fake. No one acts like that all the time, constantly. There's just no way. I refuse to believe it. Even like these love shows and stuff. Anyways, that's a separate tangent. Shows like Bad Girls Club and stuff like that, that is such a bad view of the Black community. Awful. Yes, I understand that not everybody in those shows is Black, but majority of those people in those shows are Black. And they are giving such a false idea of the Black community. First of all, like I said, no one acts like that all the time. No one acts like that all the time. I understand people act like that, but it's definitely exaggerated for the fact that they are making money off of this show. I get that. People do act like that, but not everybody. And this gives people outside of the Black community a reason to be like, oh, well, they're ghetto, they're ratchet, they're this, they're that. Because they're seeing shows like the Bad Girls Club or whatever it's called. I think it's called that. I don't know. But shows like that really like irk me and get under my skin because it gives such a bad idea of people in the Black community. Because first of all, that's not all of us. Second of all, again, I don't think people act like that all the time. I refuse. I don't care what anyone says. I refuse to believe that people act like that all the time. There's just no way. It's just no way. And then now, more recently, mind you, I'm not hating on it. I'm really not. But I know that y'all have seen it more recently. This Pop the Balloon. And I'm not going to hate because I have a friend that went on one. But I think that he was able to represent himself very well as a black man. Um, and I don't think that always happens in these shows. I think that people go on there for their little 15 minutes of fame and they show this idea of them that's not even them because they want attention. And it gives such a bad representation, regardless of black community, white community, Hispanic, wherever it is. It's giving this false idea. And specifically towards the black community, I think that it's very difficult to get out of these stereotypes when we are doing things that are continuing to perpetuate those ideas and we're participating in it. Come on, y'all. Help us out here. Stop it. Gosh. Because I know we all have moments where we do stuff that, maybe it's not the best representation of ourselves or our community, but that happens. But plastering it on social media in shows like the Black Girls Club, it's not doing us justice. It's just perpetuating those ideas. It really is. Like, we got to cut that out. That is not the vibe. That is not working for us. We got to find a new way to go about things because that's not working. But back to the good stuff. I really think that there are so many creators out there that are doing such a good job representing the talents and interests of the Black community. I have a friend who has, I think, 1.3 or 1.4 million followers on TikTok, and he makes like comedy skits. I have been friends with him since we were in college, freshman in college. We were in the dorm, and I was just being a part of his videos that he was making. And now he has 1.4 million followers on TikTok, and I am so proud of him. I tell him this all the time. I'm so happy for him, because he shows that he has such a gift, and he is giving that gift to the world through his filmmaking and his comedy skits. They're great. So just he goes by Breezy Tai Tai. Feel free to go check him out on TikTok, Instagram. His skits are super funny. But I feel like he is able to show that beautiful side. I have another friend who is an actor. Actually, I have a couple friends who are actors. And they are part of beautiful films. People who are like in like real TV films. And I have other friends who are in smaller films. I have people who are in movies. Like, and I love what they do. This brand actually is a friend of mine. It's a Black-owned brand, Black Space. Go check it out on Instagram. Love this stuff. Very streetwear vibes. Very so beautiful. You can just tell like the amount of like work and time that he put into this, him and his girl, put into all of the pieces that they make. They're so beautiful. Again, representing the Black community in such a beautiful way, through his talents. And that's what we need to do in the Black community. Show people our talents. Show them our God-given talents, your purpose. Represent yourself through that. Whatever your purpose is meant to help you, help others in something that you love. That's how you know it's your purpose. If you love it, it makes you feel good and it helps other people. That's your purpose right there. Chances are, and especially if you're helping other people, you're probably getting paid. So follow your purpose. Use your talents. Use your God-given talents to shape the world and to show that the Black community is such a beautiful, talented space. There's so many other creators that I didn't mention that I love to watch. But go out there and find them. There are people who are out here representing the Black community in such a beautiful way. Please find those talents. And if you are one of those people and you don't want to post your content, post the content. Do it. It's 2025. What are you waiting for? Post the content. Do it. Stop being scared. Post it. Do it. Because you're going to regret more not doing it. So just do it. And I heard something today, actually, that really changed my perspective. Social media has showed us that makes us think that 20 likes is not a lot of things. But you have to think about it, the fact that 20 people like that. Imagine you're walking down the street and 20 people came up to you. In one day, 20 people came up to you. It was just like, hey, I really like your style. I really like this. I really like that. I love your content. That's a lot of people. You'd be pretty overwhelmed. You'd be feeling real good about yourself. You'd be standing up straight, walking down the street, vibing. You'd be feeling real good. Like if 20 people came up to you and told you that they like something about you. So think about it that way. I'm doing all this talking and I got like 50 subscribers on YouTube. Okay? And I'm going to still keep talking. I'm going to do that because there are 50 people out there who are watching me sit on my couch and talk. Come on, y'all. The only way we are going to see a change in media of the Black community is by creating that change. Come on, y'all. Be that change. Whether you are a dancer, a singer, an artist, a filmmaker, a video maker, a podcaster, YouTuber, a streamer, whatever it is, do it. Do it. I have so many people in my life that I am so inspired by because they continue to push themselves every day and do the work to make that change. And I am trying to also be a part of that change. So find it in you to make that change. And if you are watching films, shows, movies, whatever it is, that are continuing to push the stereotype, I ask you to please stop supporting stuff like this. Show people that you are not a stereotype. You are not this idea that people have put out on social media. You are your own person. Don't let people take what they see on social media and apply that to you. Shop locally, shop Black, watch Black, listen to Black, Blackity Black, 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 Black. That's it. Support Black businesses, support Black everything. Build our community. But that's all I got for y'all today. Thank you for listening. I hope to see you back on the next episode. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but we're going to find out together. But thank you. Thank you for listening, and have a great day. God bless. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode.